this video, I'm going to be talking about cheap website hosting for affiliates mainly. In fact, I don't like the word cheap. Let's call it good value website hosting for affiliates. The reason I'm putting this video together is because a number of you have had your Siteground renewals through and you've basically been in touch with me and said, wow, Siteground's gone a bit expensive. And yes, it has. They've put their prices up recently and yeah, they're a bit expensive. I mean, they never were a cheap host, but now they are quite expensive. And for those of you that are thinking of setting up maybe your first affiliate marketing website or your first blog or whatever website you want to create, you might not have money to be, splashing out on expensive hosting. You might have a very small budget when it comes to hosting. So I've been on the hunt for some alternatives to SiteGround that offer, reasonable hosting at a reasonable price. Now, don't get me wrong, I still like SiteGround. I still use them for a number of my sites. And they are a kind of premium service. You get, fantastic speed and all the features you'd expect and all that stuff. Although they didn't do too well on my recent support video. Did you see that? I'll put a link up to that now. But that was probably a one-off because they've helped me out with things in the past and they've been fine. So yeah, nothing against SiteGround. And in fact, I'm going to include them in this video as a kind of comparison in terms of their pricing and, speed and support and all that kind of stuff. So the companies that I tested for this video, I've got them on my phone here. As you know, my memory's not very good, so let's try and get it right. First is SiteGround, obviously, as I've already mentioned. The next is HostPapa. Also tested out MDD Hosting. Hostinga was another company that I tried out. Host Armada also went through the test. Never heard of Host Armada before. And the final one is Cyberancy. Cyberancy, I don't know how to pronounce that company, but whatever. And yeah, you'll find links to all the companies below. They're all affiliate links. So if you click through and order hosting from any of them, I will earn a commission. And I'd like to say thank you very much. So to test out the different hosting companies, I ran a very scientific test. When I say very scientific, I mean not very scientific at all. Where I basically took one of my templates. It's my blog template, my affiliate marketing blog template, which I'm sure a number of you have seen. But if you haven't and you'd like to get a copy so that you can set up a website really quickly and easily, I'll put a link up now to a post on my website, wpeagle.com, where you'll find a video and you'll find a little form. Just stick your email in there and I'll send you the template and you can get your site up and running with that. So yeah, I took that template and I installed it on each of the hosting platforms, companies, whatever, and then did some very basic tests. The first test was how easy it was to actually install WordPress and install my template, because obviously that's pretty important, and you'd be surprised how many hosting companies make that process actually quite difficult. So yeah, we did that. We installed the template and I kind of made a note on how well that went. Second thing I tested out was the overall speed of the site. So yeah, keep in mind that each of the hosting companies had an exact copy of the same website. So I did the basic stuff like run it through Google PageSpeed Score and also on GT Metrics. I installed the WP Rocket plugin for the speed tests, so that that would give a true indication of the performance, because I know most of you would be running some sort of performance plugin, and I do highly recommend WP Rocket. It's a fantastic way of increasing the speed of your website. There's a link down there and I'll put a link up there. It's an affiliate link. Thanks very much. Final thing that I tested was the tech support departments of each of the companies. Set them all a simple problem. Well, I thought it was simple anyway. It was just a tick box within WordPress that was causing me some problems. And yeah, I basically documented exactly how that went, and some of the companies kind of struggled with it. And in fact, I've done a full video on just that, on just how well the tech support departments did. Put a link up to that now. Again, it's in the description. And yeah, I think you'd be quite surprised in terms of some of the responses that I got from these companies. So that was basically it. I was just measuring how easy it was to get the site up and running, how fast the site was, and how good the tech support people were when something went wrong. So with all that said, I think we should get started. Hello, it's Alex here from WP Eagle. Hope you're all doing well. Let's start by just having a look at the pricing of the different hosting companies that I tested. I'm going to put it up on the screen now in a lovely table. And we'll start with Siteground because that's kind of who we're comparing against. Now, Siteground, their very basic package is $6.99, that's dollars, and then it goes up to $14.99 after your initial kind of introductory period. HostPapa, they've got a much more reasonable pricing plan. Their basic package starts at just $1.95 a month on a 36-month contract, and then it goes up to $8.99. MDD hosting is pretty reasonable. That comes in at $5.99 a month. And I should say that most of the features are pretty much the same between the different hosting companies in terms of storage and bandwidth and all that kind of stuff. Hostinger are very reasonably priced at $2.99 a month. But before you rush out and order with Hostinger, I think you're going to want to watch a little bit more of this video. Next, we've got Host Armada, which is $2.69 a month and then $8.95 after your initial introductory period. And then finally, we've got CyberAnsy, which have got some really cheap hosting. In fact, their top package is like cheaper than most of the other guys' lower package. And with my discount code, which you'll find below, and there are actually a couple of other codes down there as well for some of the other companies. So if you're after a deal, do check the description of this video. You'll find the codes down there. And yeah, with my code, it comes in at just $2.64 a month, which is, you know, well cheap. CyberAnsy have even got a free hosting package, which, well, is not much use because you don't get a lot with it. But, you know, if you maybe just wanted to play around with the site or something like that, you could give that a go. That's the pricing. They're all pretty similar. I mean, there's a few dollars between them, but they are all cheaper than Siteground. So let's talk about how good these companies actually are. Let's start with the first thing, which is basically getting a website up and running. And as I said, I use my template file, which is basically a backup of one of my websites, which has been altered a little bit to make it a bit generic. And the backup file works with the WP Vivid backup plugin, which I highly recommend. So in order to get the site up and running, basically you just need to install WordPress. You need to install the WP Vivid backup plugin, upload my file and run it through the plugin, and within a few minutes, ta-da, you've got a website based on my affiliate marketing website that pulls in around $1,000 a month at the moment, bestroofbox.com. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Put a link to all that stuff down below. So yeah, you get a website really easily, and it should be a straightforward process. So all of the companies passed this test apart from one, which was a bit of a surprise. Yeah, but for the majority, WordPress installed like a dream, added the plugin, uploaded, no problems, all done. The one that let the side down was Hostinger, which was a bit of a shame because they've got a lovely interface for managing your hosting account, very reasonably priced, had quite high hopes for them. But yeah, got WordPress up and running, installed the backup plugin, WP Vivid, and then started running into some errors. With, you know, failing to connect to servers and all kinds of random error messages as I tried to restore the backup. I reached out to their tech support about this, and they kind of said, oh, well, it's a problem with your plugin or whatever. Sorry, can't really help you. Whereas, of course, it wasn't a problem with my plugin because it had worked fine on all the other companies. So it was at that moment that I gave up with Hostinger, and they've kind of fallen out this test at the first hurdle. Yeah, bit of a shame, but yeah, I'd say avoid Hostinger unless you want a load of problems. So with all the sites up and running, I was ready to test out the speed and the performance of each of the hosting companies. Now, before I ran them through any speed tests, I just kind of clicked around and did a little bit of tinkering in the WordPress backend just to get a feel of how well the website was performing. And I've got to say, the majority of them, it felt fine. You know, nothing to worry about. Host Armada actually felt pretty nippy when working in the WordPress backend. And unfortunately, CyberAnsy, which is the cheap one, it felt a little bit slow in the WordPress backend. Nothing to worry about too much, but it was noticeable compared to the others. And yeah, the rest of them, it was just, you know, okay. But let's have a look at some scientific measured numbers. Sort of scientific anyway. I ran all the sites through the Google PageSpeed score tool thing, and I also ran them through GT metrics. I did two different Google PageSpeed score tests. I ran it through without the WP Rocket plugin, and then I ran them through again with the WP Rocket plugin. For the GT metric score, that was just with the WP Rocket plugin, which, as I said, I highly recommend the WP Rocket plugin. It can really increase the performance of your site. And yeah, the link's below, you know that. So let's put the numbers up now and take a look. So Siteground, which is kind of the benchmark that we're comparing all of the other companies against. For page speed, without WP Rocket, we got 21 on the mobile and 75 on the desktop, which is pretty good off the bat. And then with WP Rocket, we got a mobile score of 63 and a desktop score of 91. At the time of the test, GT Metrics was giving me a page load speed time of 4.9 seconds. So that's the benchmark. As you can see, none of the other companies were able to beat Siteground on the mobile score, but a few were able to beat it on the desktop score with the WP Rocket plugin, Host Armada being one of them. Looking at the figures, there isn't a lot really between them. They're all pretty good. The two that did surprise me were Cyberunsea. For the price, they were delivering a fantastic load time of 3.1 seconds. And with WP Rocket, an acceptable score of 53 on mobile with Google PageSpeed and 84 on desktop. Another surprise was Host Armada, who, as I said, the site actually felt pretty fast, especially when working in the WordPress backend. But they pulled out some good scores as well, with a GT Metrics page load time of 3.9 seconds and a page speed score with WP Rocket of 93 on the desktop and 57 on the mobile. The slowest in terms of how long it took the page to load was MDD Hosting, coming in at 5.6 seconds, which was a little bit disappointing. So in conclusion, if I had to choose one of these companies based on their speed, I'd probably go for Host Armada, because though the metrics aren't quite as good as Cyberunsea, the site definitely felt nice and fast compared to Cyberunsea, which was a little bit weird. But yeah, Host Armada, or indeed Cyberunsea, if you're on a really tight budget and you want some, well cheap hosting. So my final test was to test out their tech support, because it's very important that these companies can deliver some good tech support, because if you get a problem, you're going to want to get it fixed pretty quick. So the majority of them all had a live chat system, apart from Cyberunsea, which had a ticket system. And I set them all a very simple task. I basically ticked the little box in the WordPress settings, in the reading settings, the box that I like to call the box of doom. Yeah, there we go. It's basically a little tick box that if you tick it, it blocks search engines coming to your site, which obviously is not a good thing, because your site doesn't get indexed and you don't get any traffic from Google Organic. So after I ticked the box, I reached out to tech support from each of the different companies, telling them that Google was saying that it can't index my site and I don't know why. Can you help? Now, I know some of you are going to say, yeah, but that's a WordPress problem. That's not a hosting company's responsibility. It's not actually a hosting problem. Well, I beg to differ, because a lot of these companies, in fact, all of these companies, sell their hosting as WordPress. I don't know what that is. Hosting. So in theory, if you're selling it as WordPress hosting, you need to support WordPress a little bit, surely. And especially with this problem, it's just such a simple problem. Just a tick box. Anyone should know it. They must have come across it 100 times before, you'd think. But yeah, the results were quite surprising. So let's start with Siteground, who are the benchmark, of course. I reached out to their tech support and they basically said that, yeah, they couldn't help me. And if it was a WordPress problem, I should probably get in touch with a web developer, which wasn't very helpful. HostPapa, their live chat, they couldn't help me. So they escalated it to the next layer of support, which was done via a ticketing system. And after a little bit of back and forth, and after a number of hours had passed, they were able to work out what the problem was, and they told me to untick the box. MDD Hosting were surprisingly good. They were able to get me up and running and tell me to untick the box within just a few minutes via their live chat. So yeah, I was very impressed with MDD Hosting. Host Armada, they also fixed the problem. It did take a little while on the live chat. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of things to test and try, but they did get there in the end. Finally, it's Cyberunsea, and they don't have a live tech support chat feature, so I had to raise a ticket We had some back and forth, but unfortunately they weren't able to fix my problem. If you'd like to watch some of the live chats that I had with these companies and to get all the detail on exactly how well they delivered tech support to me, you're going to want to watch the video that I mentioned earlier. Link is in the description. I did a full video and went into all the details on this tech support test. There we have it. They were the free tests that I conducted. If I had to pick one of the companies for great value, low cost hosting with good support and good speed, then I would go for Host Armada. They were able to fix my tech support problem. The speeds are quite impressive and the pricing is very low. A second pick would be Cyberancy. I was impressed with the speed they were delivering on the front of the website. A little bit bothered by the slowness that I kind of experienced in the WordPress backend. But for the price, I don't think you can go far wrong, providing you don't need too much tech support. If you do need quite a bit of tech support, then MDD hosting might be the best choice for you. Although not quite as fast as some of the other companies, their tech support was really good. So that brings us to the end of this video. If you liked this video, please click the like button below. That really does help me out. And if you want to be kept up to date with more videos from me, then just hit that subscribe button. Again, it's down there. Everything is down there, basically. I point down there a lot. But yeah, click the subscribe button and make sure you click the bell. I'd love to know who you use for hosting. Who do you recommend? Or who do you not recommend? Have you had a bad experience with a hosting company? Let me know. I read all the comments that I get and I'll try to reply to as many as I possibly can. But that's it for now. Good luck with your sites. See you later.